Good afternoon, everybody. This is Jeff Stein, the president of Plan Giving Marketing. And as always, I am joined by our good friend and colleague, Greg Wilson. Greg is the senior planned and major gift officer at Good Shepherd Rehab in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Good afternoon, Greg.
Hello, Jeff.
Welcome. Thank you. This is another part in our ongoing series of PSAs, Practical Solution Announcements, designed to help fundraisers and plan giving officers realize their potential through effective marketing solutions. So, Greg, before we hit the record button, we were starting to talk about the fact that it's budget season, and
Yes.
lots and lots of fundraisers, particularly in this environment, are giving a lot of thought to where they spend their budget in marketing, and you raised some questions or had some ideas that you wanted to talk about today.
Yeah, well, it's actually just something that I've been hearing from a lot of my colleagues, that it's, in the whole April-May time period, it's budget planning time. And usually this is when you get the first draft of your budget handed back to you and said, well, we'd like you to consider some more refinement. So I know that this is always a time that everybody starts really thinking through what their marketing is, what they're spending on things, and really, as coming from somebody who used to manage this budget, how much money you were spending on your website, especially around the plan giving side of things, because usually that's the one largest piece that you're spending money on throughout the years. What does your website contract look like? And then a lot of times I've heard from people that they end up staying with the same provider, even if they're not overly thrilled, because they just feel like the website is this big sort of boulder. It's like Atlas carrying the world that they have to just hold on to, that they can't drop, because it takes so much time and effort to get it built back up again. So I know that that's something we've talked, but just a big question about, how is the website supposed to be integrated into plan giving marketing, and what goes into actually switching websites.
Got it. There's a lot to, as they say on the news shows, there's a lot to unpack there. There are a few things that we should address, and I think the first thing I'd like to address is the part about the burden of the website and the complexity of managing or changing or things like that. I can understand if we were having this conversation 10 or 15 years ago, when getting a website up and running was a very expensive and daunting task. And even with people who were web savvy, there was a lot of integration that had to take place between the website vendor and the internal webmaster. That's a term that we haven't heard in a long time. The webmaster of your organization site had to coordinate with the external vendor, and it was a pain in the neck, and it took longer than it should have, and it was expensive. But nowadays, you can throw up a website pretty quickly, and a lot of the things that hold people up in terms of choosing a vendor or a partner who is most suited to their needs are overshadowed by this fear that switching is somehow technically and financially burdensome. Quite frankly, the website nowadays is just a really, really small part of a larger marketing ecosystem. And quite frankly, it might be one of the simplest aspects of the program to manage. So my first piece of advice would be, if you think it's a burden, maybe it's time to think again. Fourth graders are building websites in an afternoon these days. It's not that difficult.
Yes.
So did that get that part of it out of the way?
Yeah, that did. Other than now, I might go ask my fourth grader to start building me my plan giving site, so that it saves me a little bit of time and effort there.
Well, I don't mean to make light of it, but your fourth grader probably could if you handed them the copy. So, Greg, if we're talking about the website as a focal point of your marketing program, I would tell your fourth grader, make sure that the website is reflective of the strategy of your marketing program. And it goes back to what we talk about. Is the website inviting? Is the website inspiring people to connect with your mission? And are you making it easy for the people who visit your website to A, get the information they're looking for, if in fact they're looking for information, and B, and I think even more importantly than A, is it easy for them to get a hold of you? Do they know that when they are ready to have the conversation, who the person at the organization is that they need to be talking to? And I would say that includes a picture. I would say that it includes your phone number, your cell phone number, your email address, your street address. You want to make it as easy as possible for someone who gets that far to get on your calendar. We do it on our site. I recommend that our clients do it on their sites. There's a great tool called Calendly, where you can put a button on your site that lets people get on your calendar. We use it. I know a lot of people that I deal with professionally use it, and I would say shocked and maybe a little disappointed that more people in fundraising don't use it also. Make it as easy as possible for someone who visits your site to get a hold of you, because the only reason they're at that site is because they're interested in having a conversation. They're just poking around.
So really then it sounds like you're saying the website is there to reinforce the donor's love of the mission of the organization you work for, and then to just remove all barriers in starting a fundraising conversation that, as we've talked about in previous episodes, is different from a marketing conversation, which is there to make sure that the donor wants to hug your organization because they love the mission so much.
Exactly. Oh, keep going. Don't let me stop you.
Oh no, I'm just sort of rehashing what we've talked about before, that it comes down to it, as you were saying, that we need to grow that emotion through the website and make them realize that it's people just like them that are opening up their phones, to date myself by saying it that way, to make the call into us as the organization that they like so much. To, it reminds me of many online stores that now just have one click shopping, that we want it to be the same way, to eliminate any sort of stress that they might have in reaching out to us.
Absolutely. The original websites, the original plan giving websites, were what we now call in sales and marketing info dumps. It was a place to put all of the information that formerly existed in those dozens and dozens of rack brochures on every particular way to give. We took all of those rack brochures and we digitized them and we put them on the website, because back in the 90s, when we first started building plan giving websites, that was the role of the internet. It was the information superhighway. The more information you put out there, the better off you were. Well, that was 30 years ago or 25 years ago. And the way we interact with websites is very, very different today than it was back then. We're not looking for all of the information that's ever been published on a particular topic. We're looking to get in, get the information we need, and get out. Nobody is surfing the web anymore. It is no longer the information superhighway. It is a communication tool. It's a connection tool. And the more you put on the site to prevent the person who is interested from making a connection, the more you're doing to harm your fundraising efforts. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
In a previous segment, and this is a great comparison, is your website a marketing tool or isn't it? In a previous segment, we talked about direct mail and what a donor's expectation is when they go to the mailbox, right? They don't expect to pull out, Black's Law Dictionary where they can find out, what the legal definition of all of these different ways to give are. That's not their expectation. When they open the mailbox, they're thumbing through stuff, and if you're an effective marketer, you're just trying to inspire them to read a little bit further. The website is the same thing in a different medium. It's a different format for the same thing. We want to make sure that you are connecting donors to your mission, that your website explains to them why plan giving is important to your mission, what kind of impact people who make plan gifts have. We want to make sure that they know that your legacy society is inclusive, and the best way to do that is to profile as many donors as possible. Donors who look different from one another, donors who are of different ages, donors who have different types of relationships with the organization, so that the person who comes to the site who is inspired now realizes that if they continue this conversation, they will be one of many, not just this one person who fell prey to your marketing. And again, the most important part of this, are you inviting people into a conversation? Do they know how to get a hold of you to have that conversation? So the effectiveness of your direct mail, the effectiveness of your email is really similar to the effectiveness of your website. Invite, inspire, and engage people to interact with you on a personal level.
Wow. And it almost sounds, and I'm not trying to oversimplify it, but it sounds like a website could literally be 4 or 5 pages that mostly just talk about who are the cool kids who have already done it, and the basic information about your mission and some compelling stories around that, and then just a direct superhighway, again, like the little call me button that you can hit that I use on websites to order things. It's literally just the same. To have them pick up the phone is quick and easy, or a simple contact form, or like you said, I've never thought about the whole calendarizing page on a website. That to me sounds pretty fun and pretty awesome. So
we're going to have to set that up for you.
I know, absolutely.
Look, I was not necessarily a believer of that. I didn't think that people were going to use it. We put it on our site, we put it on our marketing, and our calendars, our sales team's calendars fill up all the time. We do marketing. People come to the site, they click the calendar link, and without even picking up the phone, we have full days of demos and client calls simply because we put that link on our site. And I think more fundraisers should make themselves available to the donors in the same way.
Yeah.
I don't want to completely minimize the importance of good information on the website. While we don't want the website to become an info dump, where we don't want people to get lost and confused by providing them information they really weren't asking for. Greg, you've been doing this a really, really long time. You are familiar with all of the websites. You've had websites of your own. You have a website of your own. In your experience as a fundraiser, what information are donors using or accessing on the website that we want to make sure that we don't eliminate for efficacy purposes? Can you share your experience with?
Sure. In my experience, typically when I've heard from people or they've called in asking specific questions, or they've told me afterwards that, thanks for having that out there because that's what I was looking for, is really just the organization's EIN, so their employer identification number through the IRS, so that they can include it in particular language, especially for beneficiary designations of an IRA, those types of items, or the formal name and county and state that your organization is organized through, that they're registered with, so that they're adding that into their own will, that it can be very explicit in stating that it's Good Shepherd Rehabilitation Network. We're in Lehigh County, Allentown, Pennsylvania, and it's all right there, so that in the future, when that person then finally passes, the attorney or the executrix or executor isn't hunting to figure out who you are and where that random organization is, that they actually have it, and it's quick and easy to find that way.
Excellent. So there is a need for practical plan giving content on the site, but in your experience, it's very, very specific and limited. I think that's important for a lot of people to realize, is that you do need to provide information. You don't need to provide everything you've ever learned at every plan giving conference on a plan giving website for it to be an effective fundraising tool.
Yep.
So let's try to wrap this thing up, because I know people got to get back to work and work on their budgets. So to summarize in no particular order, it's budget season. Plan giving websites, being the part of a marketing plan and a marketing budget, raise a lot of questions. Trust me, trust Greg. It's not 1997. These are not the original plan giving websites. Getting an effective plan giving site up and running is the work of a 4th grader. Don't let the decision bog you down. Don't feel like you have to be stuck with what you got because changing is burdensome. It is not. The second thing is, your website in and of itself is not a marketing plan. I think before, Greg, you and I were talking, I wrote it down, and it was a pretty profound quote. Your website is not a marketing tool unless it is, right? Yeah. So whether you work with plan giving marketing, another provider, or you have your 4th grader do it, Make sure that your plan giving website works as a marketing tool. Inspire donors. Demonstrate that they'll be one of the cool kids by showing other other donor testimonials, and make sure you invite people to continue the conversation by providing easy access to your contact information, email, phone number, cell phone. And if you want to take a chance, add the click to the calendar button. I think it's a great way to fill up your schedule and make it easy for people to continue the conversation with you.
Yeah.
Did we cover it, Greg?
I think so, except for don't forget your photo.
Oh, right. Yeah, here. This is the PSA. This is the practical solution announcement. Put your photo on your plan giving website. Put your photo in your email signature. Now more than ever, people are inclined, or they want to know who they're talking to, and Zoom and all of these other video conferencing tools that we're using are making it more and more normal and expected. Don't be a stranger. Let people know about the smiling face, or let people see the smiling face that's going to be on the other end of that phone call. It will make them more comfortable, and it will make them more likely to pick up the phone to have the conversation. So, for Greg Wilson, is that good?
That's awesome.
So for Greg Wilson and myself, I am Jeff Stein from Plan Giving Marketing, and we thank you again for joining us for this PSA. As always, look below the screen in the description of this video for links to some cool ideas and tips to help you as you are planning your budget and considering how to use marketing effectively to generate more leads to improve your plan giving efforts. Thank you. Have a great day.